city of civilizations, the address of peace, brotherhood, and trust, Silivri, and its history that defies centuries, its culture distilled from centuries and extending to the present day, while reaching into the future with its nature that encompasses all the beauties of life, it virtually shouts, with the unique human stories in every corner, because, or there is life in Silivri, and documenting that the life in Silivri exists in all its colors in every neighborhood for the future. Our journey, which we embarked on to pass on to future generations, this time stops at Ortaköy. During the Byzantine period known as Deleones, and in the Ottoman period as Surgun, it has always succeeded in being a center of life. This distinguished neighborhood continues its journey under the name Ortaköy, where exchange migrants settled during the Republican era. Come to the story of Ortaköy, where lush green vineyards, unique friendships, the unifying power of sports, and many more delightful stories are lived and written. Let's take a brief look together.
In 1924, this beautiful village was a Greek village. It was such a beautiful settlement area that, as I said, you have to experience it. There were completely villa-type houses, 2.5 stories high, made of wood. In the summer, they were as cold as ice, and in the winter as warm as an oven. They were that beautiful.
Thessaloniki store. Let's say Thessaloniki is like Istanbul. How is Çatalca, Silivri? In Thessaloniki, Sarı Şaban, Cevgeli, Drama. Let's say these are the districts. There, from there to here, they came as such. The great commander Ataturk, through his means, it started with 7 to 8 households and then grew, meaning here it's a village with 300 households.
And as far as I learned, around the year 1921, from Thessaloniki, there was an exchange. The exchange where states swapped people, ours came as if fleeing, to be more precise.
When discussing the entire exchange, for example, it's always about coming from Thessaloniki. Such a general statement is not possible. Thessaloniki is not a continent, so this is districts in the terminology of that time. It has sanjaks and there are many other provinces around. There is a vast Macedonia. So from where did they come and what were they dealing with? This is important.
More precisely, we created a common culture here together with people coming from Rumelia and all over the Balkans. And we formed a pool, a cultural pool. We have maintained this value, this responsibility together until now, and a very important and special chemistry, a cultural chemistry and synthesis has formed in Ortaköy.
There are those coming from the Thessaloniki districts and villages of Greece, from Sarıshaban and from Gevgeli. There are also those coming from Bulgaria, the first arrivals as well. Since their own village is Ortaköy, they changed the name of the exile to Ortaköy.
Deleones, the first name during the Greek times. Then he is exiled. After the exile, our region in Bulgaria where we came from, back then it was in Greece. Because it was right on the border, it is now part of Greece. It comes from the town of Ortaköy.
Regarding the exile village, in the documents I extracted from the Republic Archive, because these liquidation requests are found in the Republic Archive, it refers to the inventory of goods, the aspects showing the inventory of goods there as a liquidation request. From which town, from which province they come, what their profession is, when they arrive here, where are they settled, and in what capacity are they settled. For example, it says Salonika Valley's Drama District, Sarıshaban Sub-District. What is this place? It's a tobacco farmer. For instance, in the Sataka District, in the exile village, it notes Hüseyinoğlu Mehmet from the Hacıoğulları family, along with family nicknames.
They came from Thessaloniki. They came from the district of Gebgeli, Thessaloniki's Gebgeli district. That's why they call us Gebgeli, because we came from Gebgeli. For example, those who came from the district of Sarıshaban are called Sarıshaban. They gave a name to everyone else as well. In that way,
They used to say there were beautiful streams and there were fish there. Like from a basket, they would set it up like a trap. You know how they throw it now? The fish would go in and couldn't get out. They would catch fish. They had chestnuts. They would bury them underground and the birds would dig them up and eat them.
When they came here, the word I heard from them most frequently was, "Oh, homeland, homeland." In other words, their heart, one of their eyes, always remained there because their childhood was spent there, the life they lived there, the farming they did there, the life there. Of course, a person's childhood years are very important. Their lives passed with that longing.
So, always longing for that place, always in a state of yearning, they always waited for the day they would return to their homeland. But they passed away from this life without that happening. All of them.
May the village's knitting imam rest in peace. Our teacher Hussein was one of those who migrated here from Thessaloniki at a young age. Of course, we listened to their stories, with what hardships, difficulties, leaving everything behind. We saw that when they came here, they struggled a lot. The late father-in-laws were first settled in the Istanbul madrasa, for example, for the winter. They stayed there for about a year. After that, they came to this side.
While they were migrating from there, my father stayed behind. On the side of Greece, he couldn't manage to cross over to this side. He stayed there with the infidel for a few years. They liked him very much. He sewed 1 or 2 yellow ones onto the lapels of his jacket. He said, "Whatever happens, I'll run away. If I find something, I'll live off it." After that he comes, my father throws himself into the river. When he jumped into the river, the Turks from this side were shooting, and the Greeks from that side, they were saying something. The Greeks were saying from their side, and ours were saying from this side. He saved himself between 2 opposing fires. He used to tell that story.
For instance, one of our elders, my grandfather, while passing through the city there, from the border, they experienced quite a lot of hardship there. They went through many difficulties. May God never show those days again, hopefully.
They would tell stories. There was my late grandmother, Aishi. She used to say that back then we women would smear mud on our faces. There were pressures and such to not appear beautiful. I mean, that's how they would tell it.
My dear mother came here as a bride at the age of 16. Back then they used to marry off girls very young. They would quickly elope. That's how it was. It was very difficult. Then we were born, always in hardship. We are very grateful for this too. We are grateful as well.
The Greeks here will vacate their homes and settle in Greece so that the Muslims coming from there need to settle in the homes they vacated. Since there are no houses, the Greeks here did not leave the village. So they were saying it would happen gradually, of course. In the middle village we have our church, but it has now been converted into a mosque. Of course you know. For 6 months they lived there as men, women and children, saying, for example, there is no bathroom, no place to wash. Imagine them tying together the sheets, rugs and headscarves they brought in their chests. They lived by creating spaces that would serve as a bed, a double bed. My grandmother always understands this. Later, as the Greeks left and the houses became vacant, they were gradually settled into the houses.
However, in Silivri and Thrace, they especially tried to take it slow, so to speak. In fact, regarding this, the Ministry of Interior, there are constant letters and pressures from the ministry to the Sataka district governorship. In other words, why are these people not being sent? The justification being the ships in Greece are said to be coming, delayed, and similar reasons are given. As a result, they are not the only ones being waited for. From Turkey, they are also sent on other ships going there, that is, on ships of Turkish companies.
These have migrated from here. These places are connected. These places, they discovered Seni Pasha and Selal, but the children discovered Ortaköy, thinking this would happen in Denizli. They came to Ortaköy.
The elders used to tell us that when they first arrived, a part of them initially came to Celaliye. From Celaliye, they moved to Selim Pasha. When they arrived in Selim Pasha, they took a look around. It was a region very close to the sea. And they said that our children could drown here. After that, they moved a bit further up.
Their arrival from there was sorrowful. It was like a kind of destruction. But here, predominantly, how should I say, people from Orta village, Kadıköy, Kabaklı, all those villages intertwined there came and settled here. Dramalıman, we are from Sarışaban, Pomax, and so on. So when they talk about Orta village, for example, Kale neighborhood, you know how they say 40 nations. Well, our village is like that too. People speak various languages, but after coming here, after settling here, everyone works together harmoniously. Unity, togetherness, love, respect, and pleasant conversations have never been lacking.
I've been here for nearly 40 years. I was appointed here as a civil servant. I said I would stay for a year or two, then transfer to Trabzon and leave. But the wonderful people of my village loved me very much. I loved them very much. I moved and settled here. Now I am a villager of Orta. Leave everything outside, keep your door open. No one will come and bother you. The neighborhood is very good.
As history progresses, events change. The years when Istanbul was under occupation, the war years, the periods when Silivri was also under occupation. When we come to the years 1929-1921, this time public order incidents begin to emerge. Yorgi, who was committing banditry with Çatalca, was killed by the gendarmerie near Ortaköy in the Kurdere area. We see that public order incidents have increased.
During the day, it's nice. There's normal life. But at night, everyone hides and runs away. You know, at night, bandits were prowling. They came to the house, and then they couldn't find my grandfather. There was no one at home anyway. After that day, she made fresh bread. My grandmother, they ate it, the oven bread. They opened the tin of butter. They ate that too, and also the honey. But my grandfather wasn't there. They took him away. He was gone.
The Greeks always raided the village, anyway. They used to call her Suleiman Efendi's daughter. Let's not let her fetch water from the fountain. 15, 20 times to my mother's copper pots. Oh, excuse me. They would pour other water, contaminating her pots. My mother, who was repeatedly forced, would carry water enduring such hardship.
Now Grandpa there. My mom, my dad, they all go there. That Grandpa was a somewhat brave person. For example, they came, they would gather the crops, whatever was needed for this harvest. You are gathering these, but it won't be your fate to eat them.
For years, he would certainly tell us about those difficulties, but he would say that the Greek youngster came to our barn, untied our calf from its halter, and took it away.
They left all their century-old accumulations there. They crossed into Turkey without even taking a jacket. In Turkey, they were forced to migrate with just a loaf of bread.
With tobacco, they hid under the docks. They even saw the grandfather being cut. They had an aunt, my mother-in-law's. She died 40 days later from fear after seeing those things. They went through a lot of hardship.
For instance, you mentioned my grandmother. Her grandfather was martyred in Sarıkamış. Even here, the poor woman sometimes had such visions saying, "Sir, the Bulgarians are coming, quickly gather things," this and that. She would get into such a state, a woman, I mean. They say they were very cruel to them. Back then, they were called the Bulgarians.
My uncle and my mom are coming from outside. They started cutting. They ran away like this. When they ran away, suddenly my uncle and my dear mom came out. Young, they are also around 15, 16 years old. They had a cigarette thing for my uncle. There was a cigarette thing. They took it and so on. When they took it, they asked, "Where are you going?" "We are going." "Go back inside, go back inside." Mustafa Kemal is not here.
I would even kiss the soil of this February. I mean, may God give everyone such a thing. We have never seen anything like this. We found everything ready. No one can know how I pray for Atatürk. Atatürk gave us this feast. He placed the sweets and treats before us so I could eat. And this is the entire life of mine. I owe to Atatürk.
The Centennial Exchanges certainly do not forget their debt to the founder of the Centennial Republic, the great leader Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. In order to repay this debt, the one who loves their country, the most is the one who performs their duty, the best. With this principle, they roll up their sleeves and start working. In the motherland they arrived at, they begin mobilization efforts to participate in production, to further green the vineyards they found in Ortaköy, to diversify, and to acquire many more means of livelihood through collective effort.
My grandmother used to say that when we arrived all around Ortaköy, there were green, emerald green vineyards. There were those golden yellow Yapinkek grapes and Kavas grapes.
We had a vineyard. We had various fragrant grapes. You know, we had things to do. My father planted a lot of different kinds. My father planted that vineyard himself. And there were all sorts of grapes, you know. It was very beautiful. Even our pine trees are still standing. By the side of the road.
That face of mine is no longer here. It seems like it will be marked with henna. How was that face of mine living here? It's not anywhere else now either.
In the village of Sürgün. In the middle village, there are 450 households recorded. This already confirms the matter. Previously, in 1915, there were 413 households. By the 1920s, 450 households are recorded. The fallow land is 800 acres. The stubble field is 6,800 acres. Honey field is 3,000 acres. And there are 3 million umaka. What is umaka? Grape vine. I mean, this is an incredible number.
There was a lot of viticulture, but it didn't work because the young people didn't stay. Now, all the grapes, the opposite side, the clothes, it was all vineyards. There were henna'd clothes. How beautiful they were. Now they are gone. They all became a dream.
Well, I also carried a lot of grape crates. I mean, after my father bought the truck with the grape trade, they were stacking with crates. They started transporting with crates the grapes.
Every evening here is grape time. 7 and 8 trucks would literally go. Every evening, regularly, once a month, grapes would be sent.
So then the elders told stories. If Tekirdağ grapes were sold for 1 lira, the grapes from the middle village would be sold for 2 liras. In the same crate, it was really like that.
We had vineyards, we had magnificent vineyards, but they were all sold. People have built villas on our vineyards. It was very beautiful. This was a vineyard area. They used to call it Grape Village.
We had vineyards. There was yogurt. After them, more was added to ourselves. We had many vineyards.
I came across a document from the year 26. There. I see that in Ortaköy, there are 3 million and the grapevine stump is 4 million. So, this means that in the 3-year period that passed, the number of grapevine stumps was actually increased. In other words, they tried to continue with viticulture.
I know from what my grandmother told me, she says that when we came here, the stumps of the Greeks' vineyards, that is the vines, were taller than me. What great craftsmanship was done, what an effort was given. It's an incredible thing.
We used to plant okra. We would go to the okra field before sunrise and pick it. After that, we would walk there and back on foot. So that the animals wouldn't be disturbed in the morning, we would go ourselves. Then we would return again on foot to the field. If there were any, we would graze and raise our animals there. We would also tend to our work there.
Those troubled years were times when people were more strongly connected to each other. Why? Because whoever had a problem, the whole village would address that problem.
Corn would be harvested, they would go for corn. It was in the form of a cooperative. For example, onions are planted, I come to you for 10 days and you come to me. So he goes to him and he goes to him. Gathering happens, onions are planted, then comes the hoeing. The second hoeing comes, the third hoeing comes. After that the pulling comes and then it is sold.
When you turn 17, 18 years old, we would do the labor. We would go to tie the vines, to hoe the vineyard until evening.
In places where Emre is common, no one would have any expenses for Türkiye from the work they do or the goods they produce. Everyone would help each other. There was never a situation like going out to eat and saying, let me pay. Money was never even mentioned. Everyone would go to him for 3 days, you go to him for 5 days, and he comes to you. In this way, everything operated according to the Emre style method.
Everyone would harvest their own field. I mean, let's say there were reaper binders back then. You would harvest with reaper binders, for example, or most of our citizens would harvest by hand. With laborers, from what I understood from the young people, we would make bundles. We would gather the wheat, we understood, soak the oats. We would place them in the shade or do something with the soil that I understood. We would sprinkle some water so they wouldn't dry out. We would make bundles from those and tie them like that. What I understood from there would come here and a pile would be made. From the pile, it would be thrown into the thresher that I understood. There is a feeder on top. There is a cutter.
The tractor we call bato. They work with a belt. They still exist in Anatolia. We grew up among them, wheat, onions. You know, we used to plant these. We had vineyards, we had grape vineyards. But you see, time slowly erases them all.
We used to plant 40, 50 acres of onions. We always harvested those onions ourselves. Of course, with surgery, we did all the labor, but we also worked very hard ourselves. I mean, it's labor intensive. Lifting heavy things. My uncle had surgery on his back. I had surgery on my leg. So, we dealt with heavy work. We have come to this day through the sweat of our brow, thank goodness.
When we wake up, we look around. Our mother and father are not there. Where are they? They are in the field. They are in the onion field. We too, thanks to God, were always raised by our elders, the village people, Aunt Aishi, Aunt Fatma. We grew up in their hands. I mean,
here we did guiding, farming, and animal husbandry. I am a farmer who has produced 40, 50 tons of onions. I am a farmer who has produced watermelons weighing 30 to 40 kilos. But now we eat ready-made. Now we buy grapes with money. We buy onions with money. We also buy our milk with money, and we have given up animal husbandry. We filled the sacks with fresh onions. We call them the belted sacks. When you put wheat in them, they hold more than 100 kilos, that is 100 to 120 kilos. We filled them with fresh onions on top of the buses, like the top of the buses. We would load them like luggage from there. We would also get inside ourselves. At that time, towards Eminönü, right there in the market at Eminönü, we would sell there, collect the money in the afternoon, and return like that.
In our village, we had two buses named Uludağ and Garip. They provided our village's connection with Istanbul and the outside world.
The buses we called Garip, there was Uludağ, there was Garip. These would travel back and forth from Eminönü in Istanbul. Back in those days, they would go once a day, leaving in the morning and returning in the evening.
There was Garip, there was Ulu Mountain, there was a mountain. What was its name? At 2 or 3 in the morning, buses would depart from here.
For the noon buses, you depart from here next to the mosque at 5 in the morning. It used to depart for Istanbul at 5. In the morning and evening, it would arrive from there at 5. That's how it would come to the village. If someone missed the bus, they missed it. You would have to wait until the next day.
I'm going to Istanbul, leaving school. We became students by chance. I remember when I missed them, I couldn't come here in Istanbul. I stayed.
In 1994. In 1994, also became a municipality in that year. Since the first elections were on March 27th, we were elected in the first mayoral election from the True Path Party. We had 5 council members. There were none from the Motherland and Felicity Party and the others. Who was there from the Felicity Party? We also had 2 friends from the CHP. After successfully completing our first term elections with them, we continued our services.
He was my friend, but I didn't vote for him. We were from the Welfare Party. We were council members. We didn't win. I didn't vote. I said, Mr. President, the morning of the election, the next morning, this nation gave you a second chance. Go to whoever takes the metropolitan municipality and change your sign. Let a service come to the village from the internal buyer. He said, okay. He said urgent. He said it would happen, but he didn't do it.
After becoming a municipality for 2 terms, we assisted our mayor. In the 3rd term, I also ran as a candidate. I ran as a candidate for the council membership When I won in the third term, I served as a council member for 5 years. We did our work as best as we could.
Approximately 75–80% of our municipality has been included within the architectural field. And at the same time, we have established an industrial area in a section of approximately 2,000 parts. This industry is currently here. I don't know, perhaps it is an exemplary industry in our region.
İlçemizin ve federasyonumuzun temsilcileri Sayın Volkan Yılmaz Bey, Sayın Aslan Palatoğlu, Sayın Rıdvan Sırdaş ve Oktay Bey aramızdalar. Kendileriyle beraber Ortaköy Belediye Başkanımıza bu şiltimizi vermekten büyük onur duyuyoruz. Hepinize saygılar sunuyoruz.
We have a student named Erdinç Tabak. He became the mayor. He had very good projects. There were significant changes in the village. Land evaluation began.
Very good. Our mayor, Erdinç Tabak, our elder brother, served 3 terms. He served as mayor for 3 terms. He provided very good services. May he be blessed. Our village. That is, compared to other villages of Silivri, some of the villages, that is better than almost all of them.
When it was a municipality, it was more lively, more beautiful, more cheerful, more productive it was. More beautiful here. I mean, when the municipality was removed, it declined a bit. Otherwise, our village is one of the developed villages of the Silivri district.
We became a municipality when we didn't even have a chair to sit on. In other words, we were in a position where we started from scratch in everything. To be more precise, we didn't even have a municipal building. I had my own building here, where the demolished place is now. That's how we established the first municipality. I had given my own building. We sat in our own building.
At that time, Erdinç's brother went through a lot of difficulties, but in the third term, he served as president. He got used to the municipality. Let me say, he learned the job. He learned to be managed with the municipality. Then it was closed. We were left in a bind with the municipalities.
We have provided many services according to ourselves. Certainly, there is no doubt about that. If we hadn't, the public wouldn't have elected us twice, 3 times.
He did many things, but he provided the village with a beautiful stadium. We still see that even Silivri Sport comes here in parts to train. He did many things, especially overcoming the industrial area.
Stadımızın hayırlı olmasını diliyor ve hepinize sevgi ve saygılarımı sunuyorum.
I have a memory like this. My son just started school. He found money on the street, and it was a large amount. He came to me at that moment and said, "Dad, I found money." I said, "Son, you're still young, eat it." He said, "Dad, I can't eat this. It belongs to someone." I said, "Then go to President Erdinç and give it to him." He goes to President Erdinç. "President, I found money. Please deliver this to its owner." I asked, "Whose son are you?" "I am the son of President Ahmet." "Of course," he said. "Would President Ahmet's son eat the money?"
Ortaköy, where the highest examples of cooperation, communal work, neighborhood, and friendship are sincerely displayed, continues to progress step by step into the future, while also facing the concern of raising and supporting future generations. The second and third generations who are today's adults. In the hearts of the exchanges, both the hardships and the abundance coexist. What remains are the childhood years they lived. Let's listen, firsthand from those who experienced it, to hear what it was like to be a child. In Ortaköy.
Ortaköy was one of the most charming villages in the Istanbul province during my childhood years. There was no such artistry, nothing like that in the region, only agriculture-related livestock. Like everyone else, we also took care of animals back then. We went to the field in December to plow the field. We used to run horses in those years. We would plow the field with horses. We would dig the vineyards. We would gather the grapes.
In our childhood years, we always farmed. We used to plant onions. My father, even when we were little, had sheep. I couldn't even go to school because I was herding lambs. We are not literate. All my siblings studied, but I couldn't, for example.
In my life, she was my young daughter. I don't remember at all. While the place was being protected, we stayed at home. I don't remember at all. My father used to find us jobs. He would somehow find a job. Summer, winter, summer, winter.
Here, during childhood, I used to help with farming on Fridays and Sundays. On other days, we worked in the factory.
Those years were so beautiful. I still remember them with longing. They passed very beautifully. I grew up in a family of 12, 13 people. In the past, there wasn't a concept of a nuclear family like today. We grew up in extended families with uncles, grandmothers all together. In that 4-room house, 12, 13 people lived together.
Now listen, each of our friends has a stick in their hand, thin, smooth. You open one thing in the ground, you dig a hole. You place the small stick there. With the stick in your hand, you lift and hit the stick from the hole. Wherever it goes, your friends are waiting to hit that stick. When the stick is not hit and falls to the ground, whoever let it fall becomes it.
Everyone would have 3 to 5 marbles, which you call chicos. You draw a line somewhere. One of the oldest among us would place 3 chicos there. You would shoot at them from 2 meters away. The one who hits takes their share. It was a game like this. After that, hide and seek and the football games we loved the most until midnight.
We used to come to Armanlı like a field. We would make balls out of cloth rags. We played ball with them.
I remember very well, in times of scarcity, as I said, we would gather a few pieces of cloth, tie them together, and play with a cloth ball in empty places.
As soon as they leave school, they hand over the rope of the 7, 8-year-old child. Come on, let's see. Don't graze IT or do that until the evening. After that, even during the day, we can't do anything. And at noon, because the animals caught flies, we bring them home. They tie them up. It hurts. Then come on, let's see. Going to spin the hoop. There's nothing. We miss it, the kids.
I went to kiss my uncle's hand because it's a holiday. My uncle's children each got one thing, making noise, shouting. I just looked like this. Then my uncle said, well, what did you look at? Don't you have one? I said, my dad didn't give me holiday money, so what should I get? Then my uncle pointed to his daughter. She went, and they got me a whistle too. We played it toot toot, that's it, like this.
With wooden clogs made from trees in the mud, we would play games like tag and hide and seek. We were happy. Children because we were well fed. In other words, we loved the village.
Meat is a basic food item. For example, my grandmother, we would slaughter a goat or sheep and store it in an earthenware jar. Can you imagine earthenware jar? Now, where would you find one to put a slaughtered sheep inside? Maybe we didn't have pants. What we could get from the industry was limited, restricted. Our shoes were from Sumabank. They were both durable and, within our budget, they were cheaper goods that could better meet our earnings. Maybe they weren't very flashy or luxurious clothes, but they were both durable and beautiful. We were able to choose them according to our budget.
In those years, there were 2 cinemas in our village. There was a tea garden we could go to as a family. People were more sincere, more helpful. Everything was very beautiful.
I sweep these squares every day. So every day we became the beloved of the village, all clean like that.
We would work all day at the job, come home, carry water, everyone to each other. For example, when they met, everyone would chat with each other. Then, like, did you plant the onions? Did you dig them? Were you able to plant them? For example, how much did this uncle yield? Conversations were like this. Everyone was very warm to each other.
The elders weren't so fond of coffee at night. Back then, the people, cold snow would fall, and we would visit neighbors for people to pass the time. Various tables then, they would roast corn in a pan, pop it, pop corn, pop chickpeas. In other words, they would do something, go to that, visit neighbors. That's how we would spend our time together back in those days.
When we were young here, I don't know, but we used to catch 20, 30 types of birds. There were many types of goldfinches. There were varieties of the soccer bird. We used to catch them easily. I mean...
Very beautiful. My childhood was very beautiful. Well, being the first child of the family, I grew up a bit like a boy. On summer nights, our village has 3 pools. In those pools, we, as children, during the summer, we used to catch fireflies. There was no light back then. How should I say? We managed with a kerosene lamp. Studying with a kerosene lamp. We would do our homework and prepare our dowry under the kerosene lamp.
Ortaköy'de, where a firefly story is written, manages to emerge from its quiet state in the following years. Through sports, Behçet Hoca, who gets off a bus that comes to the village only once a day, wastes no time in getting to work the day after he takes that first step, not only as a teacher, but also as a good neighbor, a good friend, and a good example for instilling a love of sports in the children of Ortaköy.
I don't go to school, of course, and I don't want to go either. Today my child is starting kindergarten, and he doesn't want to go either. It seems the system affects us the same way.
His father is very upset. Of course, we are also upset. One day he came, he said, "Teacher, let's do it this way. I will give you 5 lira every day, but you won't make it obvious that it's from me. As if you are giving it, shall we try this? Let's try it."
I wake up in the morning, I don't want to get up. My mom says, get up. She says it's Ramadan. Behçet teacher is supposed to give you 5 lira. I immediately get up and head out on the way to school. Indeed, he is waiting for me by the pool. The teacher gives me 5 lira.
I'm taking it out of my pocket. Look, I'm giving you allowance. We have a cafeteria. Back then, the school has a cafeteria. In the cafeteria, you could buy roasted chickpeas, biscuits, candies, and with 5 liras, 5 liras, 5 liras. We got Ramazans used to school. He became a very successful student of mine.
Now I'm looking at how many teachers today wait for a student 300 meters outside the school and say, "Here, take 5 liras. Son, come on, let's go to school."
When he was coming, I said, back then I used to work as a bus assistant. You know, in Eminönü, there's the coast, right? Related to the Galata Bridge, we used to depart from there. I understood it was in front of the car by the seaside. In Çukur. While I was wandering in front of the car, he had also come. He said, "Where do the cars depart for Ortaköy?" I said, "Here you go. This one departs for Ortaköy." He said, "I'm coming to Ortaköy as a teacher." I understood, so I should bring him here first.
I was playing both football and volleyball. At the same time, in the teacher's school, I had initially mentioned the village institutes. Then, in 1954, they closed those beautiful institutions. They closed them. They were renamed as the First Teachers' School. Thanks to them, they trained us to help us reach these days. We never strayed from their path. In the village, 3 figures are very important. The village headman, the imam, and the teacher. If they wish, they can elevate the village and the community to the level they desire. This opportunity came to me this opportunity came to me, and I made good use of it.
After our teacher arrived, he instilled a love for football in our village. For this reason, our village found the opportunity to open up to the outside world.
Especially in terms of teaching and sports activities, there have been very significant contributions to our village and region. Not only to our village, but the name has become recognized even in the region. There have been very significant contributions. May God bless him.
He has a lot of food. He raised it for us. He came when we were in elementary school. I mean, there was no football in this area. These are Behçet Hoca's things. His work raised us, I mean.
It's a nice school, but there's nothing in the yard. It was 7 acres. There's nothing on 7 acres. We discussed the topics with my teacher. I immediately built a volleyball court as soon as possible. There are bar ideas, parallels, right? In athletics, we made them in our yard. Oh, the children became lively. During recess,
He came here, was assigned. He instilled football here. He introduced this place to football. Here, he brought people, that is, various people, closer together. How did he come? He made us all brothers. We became so close to each other that we were closer than relatives.
What should the current sports field be? What should it become? We were always the cause. We did things. We always meddled there. If it were up to today, it would be impossible anyway. Can't do that. Many people said it to our mother too, and to us, but now look, the kids are comfortable. I mean,
I played football for 20 years during the 60s and 80s. You might have even interviewed Mr. Beşiktaş. He has a saying, he says, I'm the greatest left of the village ever. We have a very good team, especially between the 70s and 80s in Selimpaşa and other places like Silivri. In the surrounding villages, all the cup tournaments, we would win all the cups. I mean, we had a very beautiful team.
apart from our football training, we have started our volleyball training.
In my time, Teacher Behçet came and brought very nice things to us, to our village. He taught us how to play games, taught us volleyball. So thanks to him, I really loved volleyball.
In the 5th grade, there were big kids, there were big girls. Aiton was one of them. I formed the team. And of course, we also practiced first how to receive the ball, how to set it up. We covered those things. The kids had talent too. As I said, luck smiled on me. We formed a wonderful volleyball team. At the same time, in our free time, during our leisure time, we played both volleyball as well as football.
I started playing in the smallest team of Coach Behçet. Since I wasn't very successful during the tryouts, the coach, being a very diligent teacher, chose the more successful friends.
Beşiktaş coach, we went to the sea with his son. We went to the sea in the summer. Şener is my friend. He found out that we went to the sea. Of course, why did we go to the sea? He didn't let us train for a week, even though it was, his own son.
In the local of the sports club, during our primary school years, there was a library in the sports club established by Behçet Hoca. Every week we had to take a novel from there and read it.
When I first came to Ortaköy, I ran into Behçet Başaran, my friend and colleague, when I got out of the car. He said, welcome. Of course, he doesn't know that I'm a teacher. I also don't know that they are teachers.
Sedat teacher, we were sitting in front of the coffee shop. He came and said, I have been appointed as a teacher to our village. We also have some sports activities. At that moment,
it was a library, the place where the sports club was located. It was a library. At the same time, it was also used as the sports club. They were maintaining it, doing their work and activities there. So we are managing the club as well. When they said that, I said I played football, I did sports.
He said, hopefully, we will carry it out together, and so on. We met there.
That's how we got acquainted with Beşiktaş. Then our friends, our companionship continued.
I am number 9. Jersey to Coach Sedat.
Here on that football field I see people who know nothing but the field. On the days when there is a match, no one goes to the field. Everyone comes around the stadium to watch the match.
A circle of love was formed. I couldn't break this circle of love. My mother and father are in Istanbul, in Arnavutköy. My aim was to teach at Arnavutköy Primary School 2 years later. But I am still in Ortaköy for 63 years. I couldn't break that circle of love. In the meantime, they gave us a daughter. She became their daughter-in-law. Days went by like this. They passed.
One of the most important figures who added value to Ortaköy is Behçet Hoca, without a doubt. However, becoming a son-in-law of Ortaköy is not considered easy. They continue to uphold the traditions and customs they have maintained for centuries as much as possible, but even today. The people of Ortaköy, from the henna night to the bride's reception, from the groom's shave to the tupishkesh, from Hadrele's celebrations to their manis, it is important to preserve many traditions and pass them on to future generations. For them,
honestly, our wedding customs, our traditions are gradually weakening a bit more. I don't know about this, how true it is, but they are weakening. It seems the circumstances are causing this. In the past, weddings would start on Wednesday and last until the weekend. We used to have weddings for 3 or 4 days. Every day, every evening, all the guests were fed, the entire village was fed.
Wedding traditions. A long time ago, in the old days, about 30 years ago. The feast would last for 3 days. The wedding would start on a Friday and continue until Sunday evening. The food and drink were provided by the host of the wedding. There would be entertainment. In weddings, we used to have distinction a bit. Let me also mention that some of us won't go to their weddings, and ours won't go to their weddings either. They wouldn't come to our events.
So from where, if you look at it, the wedding would last 3 to 4 days. Among these, there's the tradition of getting sweets called pishkeshe, a word derived from Greek where the groom's side goes to get sweets from the bride's side. After that, the henna night is organized. So quite a bit of celebration.
When there's a wedding, the food comes first, then the jewelry comes. We experience such beautiful and rich things. We experienced beautiful things, but like this, we did what we saw from our elders.
I even saw a bride being picked up with a tractor. Until those days, if it's in the other village, if the bride is going to another house.
We have ovens in our village. You make bread in the ovens, round loaf. You cut those loaves. Then you roast a nice halva in a pan. You put the halva on top of the slices of bread. You put them in baskets. Aunts, brides, hang them on the basket handles. They invite door to door to the wedding feast.
There used to be round baskets like this. Loaf, 8 to 10, 10, 15 loaf. Halva is placed and stuck on top of 2 people. People were invited to the wedding, like that on the bread.
When going to the meal, close relatives would definitely send a henned ram. Back then it was a bit heavy. I guess weddings were a bit costly.
When it comes to serving food, I remember my brothers, we slaughtered a big cow at the wedding. We slaughtered a cow, and for my sister's wedding, we slaughtered a sheep. So in the village, we wouldn't say, let's invite this person, the whole village.
In the past, the host who was going to hold a wedding would first call the wedding servants and feed them. So when you serve food tomorrow, a yenge is given to each table, 1 server and 1 bringer. This way the inside doesn't get chaotic. Everyone was hungry. They carefully watched their table.
The village barber is taken to the wedding house along with his tools. The groom is given a nice shave there. Of course, during this shaving, a lot of games and customs brought from traditions were performed. Jokes on the groom.
While shaving the groom, he would become a driver to the afterlife, you see.
The groom is shaved and prepared with a lot of jokes from that period. After that, the bride's collection would begin.
He sings, stops the music, sings, then plays the music again. These were the customs.
We hear 6 chairs. would hold our weddings at every corner with 4 planks to sit on.
Back then, they used to play the tambourine in my early childhood. There was even a lady named Servet from your Pasha. She would come. The mother of Davul Cizletin from Silir would come. The tambourine was even small. They would heat it there. It would be nice.
A lot. Always songs. We didn't know any other work. With tambourines in our hands, we kept making and playing songs. How will one become a tambourine player like this?
After the wedding, the morning after the bride's veil ceremony, groom cookies are made. Groom cookies were offered to people visiting the bride's home to see the dowry.
There was no electricity. There was nothing. For example, we would put ashes inside the cans. We would pour a little diesel on it, pour oil on it. 2 or 3 people would hold the cans side by side. We would do the bride reception with them, as I understood. At night again, we would have a wedding with them, as I understood. There was no electricity or anything like that. Are you going to do it with a candle? No. We mixed diesel with oil in the can. We would give a wick to the sand. It would burn there, flame after flame. The young people would dance. I don't know what else would happen.
They go by firing guns to the girl's house. The girl's house on the 4th day, that is, they give a meal to those who come. They give a meal there, or drinks, things. An entertainment is organized.
It turned out very well. It happened in the middle of winter, my lord. It happened in the middle of winter, but it turned out very well. Plenty of drinks, plenty of drums. For the men, it turned out very well.
Oh. When I got out of the bridal car, they would seat me on something, a chair. My face and eyes were covered. The car was surrounded. The groom threw candies, brought me down, and took me inside. Our wedding took place inside the store. Weddings used to be like this in the past.
We are from the same village as my sister-in-law. God willed it, and we met. We met her. There is an age 7 to 8 year gap. My sister-in-law, she was not of age, so they didn't give her to me. They didn't give her because she was young, let's put it that way. In the end, she ran away to me. She ran away to me. We stayed in hiding for about 45 days. We went to the village headman's office. I went inside the headman's office. There was our headman, Yusuf, singer. He was a very esteemed headman. I can say he was one of the headmen I knew during my lifetime. I immediately went inside. I said, Brother Yusuf, I want to be free. What happened, son? What do you mean? I said, this girl kidnapped me. Then he asked, is that so, my girl? Did you kidnap him? He said, I missed it, Uncle Yusuf. Go ahead, sign it. The next day we went and got married. That's how we met.
He arrived at our neighbors. One day a guest came to our neighbors wearing a photo hat on his head. There was a feather on the photo hat. I said, oh my God, what kind of person is this? And he has a feather. In Germany, more often, when Turkish workers went to Germany, they would come like that. I was in the last year of middle school. Oh my God, who is this? So finally came to my neighbor. I got curious. I went. I said, welcome. That welcome saying continued.
There is a girl, but they said they live in Malkara. I don't know if she would come to the village. They came and told me, of course. I said, you found her for me, okay, but I said, is she blind, lame? How would I know? He said, Fethi, that is... I said, let me see her once accordingly. Maybe she can't even speak. Then she came, we met, got acquainted. It's fate, you see. He said, oh my, I will ask for this girl no matter who she is, no luck from me. I also said, this new guy is such a good person. Look at how fate works now.
We got into the car, got on the minibus, we will come here. I sat by the window. A man came and sat next to me. I looked, my husband came and said, get up from there. May he rest in peace. The man got up. He got up without saying anything to him.
He came and sat next to me, but I was looking out the window. A person, I don't know at all. We just arrived at Yenichi. The car stopped. He is getting off. When he got out of the car, he said he would send my parents to me. I thought, is he crazy or what? What am I supposed to do with your parents? He got up honestly, of course. That's how it happened.
Uncle Recep was friends with my brother. He deceived me back then. At that time, marrying from outside was not allowed. For better or worse, it had to be someone from the village. Both men and women were always from the village. In this way, they also considered my siblings. We got married. We were happy. We had many children.
Idilles Day, they gather the girls. Do something like this. To prevent, they throw bunches of flowers into a bowl. It comes out of that bowl. Whoever's intention it is, a rhyme for their intention. There used to be rhymes on the back of calendar outfits. Now I don't know, I don't see them currently. There were rhymes, those machines. They used to read the rhymes.
You will tell this to the doctor.
For example, from that day it has stayed in my ears. My mother bought a dress. It had green branches I wish I hadn't loved. I would hear that my beloved had a half.
Vineyard can't be made from black grapes, nor mountain from leaves. In the heart of a lover of daughter there is no fat.
The thing of Ataturk, April 23rd. Today is April 23rd. It is the greatest holiday for us. Holiday means joy. That's why every year when April 23rd comes, we gather in this joy. Because on April 23rd, our Grand National Assembly convened in Ankara. The Turks have thus attained freedom on that day. Indeed. Goodbye. A wonderful thing.